Have you ever really stopped to think about how an earthworm moves? It sounds simple, right? Well, it turns out the answer to that question unlocks a really fundamental scientific principle that powers everything from our own bodies to some seriously advanced medical technology. Today, we're going to dive into the science of flow, and trust me, you'll be surprised where it leads. So let's start right there. How does an earthworm do it? It has no legs, no fins. It's just this tube that somehow inches its way forward. The secret to its movement is actually the key to this whole story, and it's a principle you use every single day, probably without even realizing it. Get this, that earthworm's crawl, it uses the exact same physics that helps you swallow your food. It's how you get that last bit of ketchup out of the bottle, and it's how super important pumps work in hospitals. This whole wave-like motion, this sort of progressive squeeze, it's got a scientific name, peristalsis. Okay, so to really get a handle on this squeezing motion, a group of scientists decided to build the perfect mathematical model. And to do it, they needed 4 very specific and honestly kind of weird ingredients. First up, you have the process itself, peristalsis. It's just the fancy science term for moving a fluid by sending a wave of contraction, a squeeze, down a flexible tube. You know when you squeeze a tube of toothpaste from the bottom to get the last bit out? Yep, that is peristalsis in action. Now, the second ingredient isn't your average liquid like water. No, it's something way stranger called an Oldroyd B fluid. It's a non-Newtonian fluid, which is a wild way of saying its thickness changes under stress. It's got properties of both a liquid and an elastic solid. It kind of has a memory of its own shape. The best way to picture this is to think about slime. You can pour it like a liquid, right? But you can also stretch it, and it has this elastic quality where it wants to snap back. That's the whole deal with an Oldroyd B fluid. And believe it or not, a ton of important fluids, from mucus in our bodies to polymers in factories, act just like this. All right, ingredient number 3 is the shape of the tube. A lot of the older research used simple, straight channels, mostly because the math is just way easier. But this study specifically tackled a curved channel. And why does that matter? Well, think about it. The real world is curvy. Our arteries, our intestines, industrial pipes, none of them are perfectly straight. And for the final piece of the puzzle, the researchers added one more layer of control and complexity, a magnetic field. By making the fluid electrically conductive, they could use magnets to actually influence how it moves, giving them a kind of remote control for the flow. So let's recap. You've got a weird, slimy fluid in a curved tube with a magnetic field affecting it. How on earth do you study that? Well, you don't use a beaker and a Bunsen burner. You solve it with the pure power of mathematics and computers. The method the researchers used was actually super elegant. First, they wrote down all the complex math equations that describe the physics of the fluid. Then, to make the whole thing actually solvable, they made some smart simplifications, like assuming the waves are long and the flow is slow. Finally, they just let powerful software like MATLAB and Mathematica crunch all the numbers and turn them into visualizations of the flow. And the outcome wasn't just a single yes or no answer. As the researchers themselves put it, their model let them see exactly how changing different things, like the strength of the magnetic field or how stretchy the fluid was, affected everything from its speed to its temperature. They could basically predict how it would act under all kinds of different conditions. So this brings us to the big question, right? Why go through all this trouble? Who cares about some complicated math for a weird fluid in a magnetic tube? Well, because the solution to this abstract puzzle has huge, real-world implications. This is where it gets really cool. I mean, the potential applications here are just staggering. In medicine, this could help create systems for delivering drugs to a specific target in the body, or even use magnetic fields to help reduce bleeding during surgery. In industry, it's huge for safely moving toxic stuff around or making food processing better. And for bioengineering, it could help design way more efficient heart pumps or even better dialysis machines. So at the end of the day, this isn't just a math problem. By solving this really fundamental science puzzle, these researchers are basically creating a blueprint, a set of rules that engineers and doctors can use to build the next generation of technologies that are smarter, safer, and just plain better. It really makes you think, doesn't it? We started this whole thing with a simple little earthworm, and we ended with the blueprints for life-saving medical devices. It really just leaves you with this one final exciting question. If we can master the flow of something this weird and this complex, what other seemingly impossible problems are we about to solve next?